So our good friend Rabbi Benzion Sheinfeld, who of course has been on this show a million times on different topics, most often about Camp Kanfei that he's been running for the last 30-plus years. And Kanfei, each and every summer, brings him to a variety of places, including Australia. And yesterday when we spoke, we said it would be a good idea to get his perspective, because obviously we've never been there, but he's been there many, many times and can certainly relate to the area geographically and to the community in terms of what they're going through. And here he is, Rabbi Benzion Sheinfeld. A pleasure to welcome you back to JM in the AM.
Good morning, Nachum. Always a pleasure to be here, but under these circumstances.
Yeah, boy. So you were first introduced to the Jewish community in Australia back in 1994? That was the first trip you took there?
No, actually, the first trip I took to Australia was because of Yeshiva University's Counterpoint program.
Wow.
We have Rabbi Michael Fredman in the office, who actually I was on his team. The first year, that was in 1987, I believe.
Was that Sydney or Melbourne?
So that was Melbourne. And that really opened my eyes to a whole new world. And we'll talk about the contrast, but when I got there, you think of Australia when you're just living in America. Australia is like the most
a different planet.
Right, a different planet. And in those days, there was no internet and there was no texting. So when you got there, you actually felt like, wow, this is like through the Twilight Zone to a different Jewish community on a different planet.
Isolated, right?
Right. Different Rabbanim, different challenges, different Piskei Halacha. I mean,
even Chanukah being in 90-degree weather.
Exactly. I was just going to mention
that. And Tisha B'Av ending early, you know?
Right, exactly, which is one of the reasons why Kanfei still goes to Australia to end Tisha B'Av at 5:07.
We always talk about that. This religion was not geared toward the southern hemisphere, right? You have to admit. Right. And certainly not to that part of the world. But anyway, go ahead. I'm sorry.
So just when we got to Australia, and what struck me was this Jews who made a life, such a beautiful life, so far away in the what we consider at least in the middle of nowhere.
Right.
And just a few things that struck me then.
Well, and just to note that you then consistently grew to know it even more during the 80s, the 90s, obviously the last 25 years, et cetera, et cetera.
Right. I went twice with Counterpoint. Once Rabbi Fredman was my group leader, and once I was a group leader. And Counterpoint was a very formative program for so many people. Their chinuch careers, even the first Shiriyah, which comes up in a few weeks. Some of the motivation to start that was what I shared with kids in Australia. So we worked with a school they're called Mount Scopus. Mount Scopus at the time was the largest Jewish school in the world.
In what city?
In Melbourne.
All right.
And I was introduced to a new term. I grew up in Far Rockaway. I was like, just a regular. We didn't think so much about thinking about our Judaism. We just did our Judaism. But I got there, and suddenly there was a new term called Jewish identity.
Right.
I never heard
people
that
were culturally Jewish. The shul they didn't go to was observant, that type of thing.
Right, exactly, right. And what I learned about the Melbourne Jewish community, it was such a powerful Jewish identity. Like in America, we had, 60-70% intermarriage. In Australia, it's
very little,
very small.
And when you get to Sydney, at what time do you start getting familiar with the Sydney Jewish community?
Right. So I went there during my Counterpoint years once or twice with Hillebecker. But then through Camp Kanfei Nesharim, we spend time both in Melbourne, first one Shabbos in Melbourne, one Shabbos in Sydney. First we're in New Zealand where there's no Jews. And suddenly, I always tell the kids, after 2 weeks of no Jews, suddenly you're not going to believe how special it's going to be just to see a Jew walking in the street. And we go to Melbourne and we go to Sydney. And I wanted to share a little bit.
Yeah, sure.
Just over the last couple of days, people don't really even understand Bondi Beach. What's Bondi Beach? Is it a beach? Is it people?
Well, not just that. We also are curious, how does it relate to the central Jewish community? Is it right there? Is it an important part of it? Is it, Borough Park to Flatbush? We're trying to figure out exactly, what it is in relation to what we're familiar with.
Right. So Melbourne is the strongest Jewish community, I would say, if I could measure it in terms of restaurants, which of course is always a good barometer.
Of course. It's the only barometer.
So Melbourne has multiple restaurants, maybe 5 to 10 eating establishments, and Sydney really has only 1 or 2. Mm-hmm. But there's a strong community in Melbourne, very strong. Then there's also another strong community in Sydney, but not, I would say, as strong. What you get to learn very soon is when you get to Australia, is that where here you might go to a town and there's a Chabad house.
Right.
I guess the Rebbe, the Lubavitch Rebbe, sent Rabbi Groner over there, and basically the default of Jews in Australia is connected to Chabad. There might be 25 Chabad shuls and might be one Mizrahi house,
right.
in the community. So Melbourne is very powerful, unified.
So even those who are not, quote unquote, part of the Chabad community are very familiar with the Chabad leadership. Rabbi Schlanger must have been a leader for all. I mean, we're hearing about it, but you're describing it, that everyone knew him, everyone, had a perspective about how important he was to the community.
Right. It was a Chabad. It wasn't like there was a Chabad house in Sydney.
Right.
Everybody in Australia is Chabad, right. Just about. And so Melbourne is the strongest Jewish community, but Sydney, the Jews there are centered in Bondi Beach. And I just want to tell you, like Bondi Beach, what a unbelievably beautiful place it is. It's not like a beach town. It's a Jewish community.
Residential area.
Residential area. It's a cul-de-sac beach. I always tell my campers, you're about to see the most beautiful inner city beach in the world. And there must be 20 shuls there, like 18 of them probably Chabad in
that area.
Oh yeah, at least 20 shuls, yeah.
And that would be where the kosher restaurant is? I mean,
yes, that's where the kosher restaurant is. It's some are close to the beach, some are maybe like a 10-minute walk from the beach. Right. But so when you
and if I'm Jewish and live there, I'm within walking distance of all of this.
Yes,
that's
you're right. You're walking. You're walking distance of the beach, and like I said, from the beach, there used to be a cafe called Katzy's. Glicks, I'm sorry, Glicks Cafe. Glicks is like this kosher bakery chain in Australia. Right. Makes some amazing challahs.
Worth the trip.
Yes, yeah. And just like maybe a 3-minute walk from the beach, there was Glicks. But again, it's not a beach that people come to for vacation. It's where.
But it's funny you say that, right? Rabbi Benzion Sheinfeld is here. He's been to Australia 1 million times, and I'm almost accurate with that number, because the world, as it's telling this story about what happened there on Sunday night, is painting a picture as if it's a big tourist attraction and everyone knows about it, and it's a place where celebrities at times go to relax and be isolated, as you indicated. So it did seem to me like that, as much of it as it's a community as you describe, that there is that it's well known around the world in certain circles.
Well, somehow the Jews decide to settle in the most amazing piece of real estate on earth, which is,
and it does attract people. People do vacation there. People
go there maybe to use the beach, but it's not. I wouldn't say it's like a vacation area. Right. There's a couple of hotels on the beachfront, but overall, it's really just.
The locals are predominantly the ones using it.
Yeah, right. And our camp goes there, and Erev Shabbos, we take this walk. It's called the Bondi Beach Walk, which is this beautiful walk around the rocks and around that beach. And I just tell the kids, how beautiful and lucky we are.
Does that include the infamous bridge that we keep seeing?
Yeah. So the bridge is about a 20-minute. Car ride down into the central business district. So the Bondi is a suburb of the main city of Sydney.
And if you were told before Sunday that there's a Chabad celebration on the beach, would you have realized what the location was of that party? Like, would you have been able to envision exactly where it would be?
Yeah. The only thing I could compare it to in New York is like Central Park. Okay, but Central Park.
If someone says it and they're familiar with it, they know exactly what you're talking
about. But imagine Central Park is really just one beautiful green area.
Or if someone would say the reservoir area of Central Park, the whole world knows what that means.
Right, exactly. Right. And if it's a Chabad celebration, it's
when you first heard the news, your first reaction is, I've just been there. I just like.
Right. Yeah. Even just to define that a little bit more, walking in Sydney, I always tell also my campers that Sydney is the most beautiful modern city in the world. It's just amazing. It's an amazing city, really.
Nothing around here compares to it?
No, nothing compares. Really nothing compares. And we have beautiful skylines every once in a while, but walking around Sydney, there's like an uplifting, almost like Lahavdil. You go to Yerushalayim, you feel like this on a beautiful day in Yerushalayim. You feel Sydney almost every day. You just feel this uplifting, shining beauty. It's the human structures that they built on the Sydney Harbor, including the bridge and the Opera House, really uplift you in some way. And the Jewish community then is located in the most beautiful inner city beach. So, of course, the tragedy is felt, what happened in the city is felt by everybody. But I would say for our Kanfei community, and I'm sure, of course, for the people in Sydney, walking on Sydney Beach on Bondi Beach until a few days ago, was just the most relaxing, open-hearted. I always said, if I had the funds, I would buy a condo overlooking the beach and daven Kabbalah Shabbos overlooking that beach. And I told my campers, you guys, I have some wealthy campers that come every once in a while. I say, if you ever guys want to buy me just a present, that condo would be fine, overlooking that beach. And to think now of going back to that beautiful beach that people every morning just walk on and have a coffee, and to think of it almost like, almost like a Holocaust, like
a terror scene.
A terror scene where we're going to have a memorial. I'm sure.
Yeah, of course.
The community's going to build a memorial there. It's just life-changing.
And I know that this is nothing in terms of the big picture, but as we watch all of this, we're curious. How far is that bridge where these terrorists were shooting to the area that we're talking about?
Right. So our camp stays in a hostel right across the street, literally across the street from that bridge. Yeah, from that.
Of the bridge?
From the bridge. That bridge is simply...
You could have been the one taking that video, God forbid.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely.
And that's how far from where the 1,000 people were?
So that it's
2-minute walk, a 5-minute walk?
No, like a 30-yard walk. That bridge is simply the way to get from the street.
So they're literally perched atop there, overlooking a massive crowd. That's right underneath them.
Yes. In fact, I still ask myself the miracle, or just somehow
that more people
were killed. It's hard to imagine because they're sitting right there on that bridge. In fact, I wrote a message to my campers, the following message. So the message was, dear campers, I am sure you all know that we walked over the bridge the shooters were on as we walked on the beautiful Bondi Beach in Bondi. We all have a special responsibility to internalize all that went on today forever, as we are some of just a small number of USA Jews who truly know the Bondi community and that special area. I hope we are able to cherish the victims' memories and make sure that it somehow makes us better and more concerned Jews so that we grow from their sacrifice.
Wow. Rabbi Benzion Sheinfeld's here. Through his work with Camp Kanfei and other avenues, he's been very familiar and continues to be very familiar with the Australian Jewish community, and specifically Sydney and Bondi Beach, as we're discussing this morning. And of all of this, and there's so much to obviously unpack with this whole terrible attack, but you just revealed something to us that I think is so impactful, and that is how close these monsters were to 1,000 Jews, whatever the number was, and they went ahead and just started randomly shooting at them. And unfortunately, obviously, that's why we have so many victims and people in the hospital. But just to comprehend that, especially for an area you're familiar with, is just unfathomable.
Right. Yeah, I didn't realize that it wasn't clear that, that bridge is just a few yards.
I kept thinking like it's, far off, but the weapons gave them an opportunity to reach these people, etc.
No, just a few feet away.
All right. So I assume you've been in contact with actual residents. I have to assume because you are dealing with them every summer, right? I mean,
yeah.
Is it all just about texting about shock and mourning and funerals and not sleeping and trying to get through all of this?
Yeah, it's. I spoke to someone who lives right across the street from the beach, and they said they were walking there just a few minutes before. Even Rabbi Ullman. Rabbi Schlanger is Rabbi Ullman's son-in-law. Rabbi Schlanger, I happen to teach now in Tenafly Chabad Academy, and Rabbi Schlanger's cousin, Rabbi Lewis, is the first cousin to Rabbi Lewis. But Rabbi Ullman is the head of the Sydney Bezdin, and we ate by his shul a number of times with him Friday night. So, everyone's very connected there.
It hits everybody. We know Rabbi Schlanger's brother very well, who's now in Jerusalem sitting Shiva with his mother.
Right.
So crazy, the whole thing.
On the way here, I was thinking there's almost the irony. There's a very special Jew who was Nifter, but his name was Norman Rosenbaum. I don't know if you ever...
Sure, the Crown Heights attack.
Right. So
Norman was the uncle's brother.
Right, Norman was the uncle's brother. And I remember, he would come to America.
I don't know how he did it. He was back and forth
25 times. He probably changed the mayoral election,
right.
his advocacy.
Right.
So I was just thinking that Australia always felt for us like the safest place. When I went to Australia, it was like this idyllic Jewish community. The Jews were connected. Even the Jews that weren't connected were connected. And it was just a safe place to be. And, Norman's brother, Yankel Hashem Yimkom Damim, was killed here in America, but Australia was safe, know. But now, just the opposite,
Well, sort of.
Yes.
There was a stabbing in Crown Heights last night, so,
Right.
Crazy. What about the general community? Does the Jewish community of Sydney, Bondi Beach, get along with their neighbors and regular people who are not Jewish there? Like, is it a cohesive group over there? Because we keep getting this picture from the media that everyone's so friendly and nice and live very well together. Is that the impression you had?
It certainly was the impression. Look, I've been going to Australia for 33 years. Right. It's the overwhelming impression I've had.
And dealing with vendors who are Jewish and not Jewish.
Oh, just wonderful people. Australians in general are very open-hearted, and I loved it. I mean, New Zealand, one of the reasons why I went back to New Zealand, and New Zealand and Australia share a type of culture, is because of how open-hearted and nice the people were. And, I'm a big humanist. I like seeing the nice. But I will tell you one incident. Sure. This summer, I was standing right by that bridge. If I tell you, our bus was parked. There's a bus parked right by that bridge. I'm outside my bus. Of course, I'm wearing my yarmulke, and a Middle Eastern gentleman walks by and says, "Are you Jewish?" I said, "Yes." I can't say everything he said on air, but he said, "I hate bleeping Jews."
Right, fill in the blank, right?
Yeah, that's what he said to me straight. And that was the first time in my life that I, felt like this visceral hatred for Jews.
Did he just move on after that?
Yeah, I'm a big guy. He moved on.
He saw you weren't backing down.
But no, it was scary, actually, to be honest. And
what a commentary. A place that you regard as one of the safest and one of the most serene places on earth, and it's all infiltrated there as well.
Right.
The whole world is now,
Right. I'm sure there are a lot it the hero who
yeah.
There are a lot of good people, a lot of good of all religions and of all
100%.
But it is the fact that Australia, this idyllic place, both in my heart and for many people, that Bondi Beach, which is probably the most idyllic place in Australia in terms of.
Do you know that flower salesman? He operates right near the bridge. Have you ever run across him or not?
He was
They said he was a flower salesman near the bridge.
I did not know.
That's what I read.
Oh, okay.
And he saw what was going on, and instead of looking for safety somewhere, the guy used every ounce of energy in his body to take down this terrorist, which was unbelievable. I mean, you saw it, so you know what I'm talking about. Right. Does this at all? Forget about your business operation. We could discuss Kanfei and getting people to come another time. But does this affect what's going to be happening in June and July for you? Like, is this or that hasn't even entered your mind?
It's hard to make decisions
right a week after or within a week.
Like, unfortunately,
But do you think about it?
I do think about it. Even the last couple of years, we've been a little more cautious in terms of where we've gone and when we've gone to different places. Overall, it's still, the Jewish community in Australia is still very established and still a beautiful place to visit. So, and again, the contrast from New Zealand, where there are kimat no Jews, and then coming to Australia and seeing Jews is always so special to us.
And is Sydney your base when you go skiing and stuff, or that's a different area of Australia?
Actually, the ski mountains are between Melbourne and Sydney. So we spend one Shabbos in Melbourne. And then we spend
a week skiing.
Then a few days skiing. And
that's the general Benzion Sheinfeld itinerary, right? Shabbos, a week skiing, and then another Shabbos.
Yes, exactly. And the best is if you could ski Erev Shabbos and then bring that.
Right, you've talked to us about that.
I love that. I still love that. Even this Friday, I may be going to Hunter Mountain.
If you ski Erev Shabbos, Rabbi Scheinfeld, how much time does one need to leave in order to properly prepare for Shabbos and have your candle lighting at the appropriate time? How much? What type of schedule would you make for yourself in that situation?
Again, you have to have the cholent cooking from Thursday night, of course, and the flunkin. But overall, if you go to Hunter Mountain, let's say this Friday, if you go to Hunter Mountain.
Is there still a presence there? Is there a minion or not?
I mean, on Chanukah, every day in Hunter Mountain, there's usually minions.
Seriously?
Yeah, and of course, you have the Melora Hotel.
Right. I didn't realize that. I don't know. For some reason, I thought maybe because you stopped going there Yom Narayim, I thought the community had disbanded. I don't know.
Yeah. No, but now you have that kosher hotel there.
Oh, wow. Very nice.
And there's a couple of minyanim.
So this weekend, you'll be up there?
Could be, yeah. It should be. There's a lot of Jews that go up to Hunter Chanukah. Right. So if you want to, let's say, go skiing.
And let's say candle lighting is 4:10. Okay. Well, and you also have to light Hanukkah candles before Shabbos candles.
Right.
So let's say you want to light. Let's say you would do the Nachum Segal approach and light Hanukkah candles at 3:50. Okay. Let's say you would do that. Then what time would you have to get off the slopes, in your opinion? Honestly, and if you say 3:45, I'm going to slap you.
Now you could leave Hunter at 12:30. You know, as you get to 8:30, 12:30 on Erev Shabbos, and there's usually no lines, no lift lines, so you could really have a great day of.
So even at noon Friday, you could get that Erev Shabbos feeling.
Yeah, there's nothing like it. The skiing, skiing is a gift Hashem gave to the world. You feel nature. You feel the beauty of the world.
Were there any other gifts that he gave to the world, or would that be the exclusive one? I've been hearing about this Shabbos thing being a big gift that God gave to the world. Where does that rank? That's what we should do one day. Rabbi Benzion Sheinfeld's top 10 gifts that God gave to the world.
Exactly.
That'd be an amazing segment.
Right. The red onion might be in there.
How would it not? How would it not? Would that be the only vegetable in there? That's be the only vegetable to make the list?
Is pomelo a vegetable? I forget if I'm not sure exactly what the category is.
But I've stumbled on, by the way, this could be a book. I am telling you, if we did a segment, and those who've heard our conversations before understand why this is such a good idea. You know how deep you are and how you think and how you experience life. I mean, we get the idea, I think, from this conversation as well. But a top 10, right? Benzion Sheinfeld's top 10 gifts that HaKadosh Baruch Hu gave to the world. I'd have to start thinking if Shabbos will make the list. I got to start thinking about it.
No, Shabbos.
It makes the list automatically, no matter what.
Yeah, Shabbos.
If we did a bracket, if we did an NCAA bracket, would Shabbos be one of the number one seeds?
Yes.
It would.
But I always think like Hashem right before the last day, right before Ski.
Right.
He threw in the pomelo and the red onion. I always think,
and not the skiing. That was a separate thing.
No, skiing was a whole. That was thought out. That was thought out.
A parsha in and of itself.
Right.
Do we have any biblical figures that like the red onion? Have you ever come across? Is there anybody in Tanakh that felt like you do?
I think there's one she did that. The Eitz Hadas was the red onion.
There you go.
But honestly, pomelos are very special, and
there's nothing in the fruit world that comes close to it. You're saying. In other words, if you were on a desert island and you had a choice of one fruit, it's not even a question. That would be the one.
It would be a pomelo from Thailand, to be honest.
Has to be that.
Yeah.
How many times have you been to Thailand?
No, just once, but eating
was that good?
Yeah. So like that Erev Shabbos feeling of skiing, that opening up a pomelo where you just feel the beauty of Brias Olam in that fruit, like so compact. Yeah. Those. Do
you agree? Because you've been to Israel, known for its fruits and vegetables, and obviously other parts of the world. Do you agree that in New York and New Jersey we just don't have high quality fruits and vegetables? Or
Israel fruits do taste.
They completely outrank them, right?
Yeah, they sparkle.
Yeah,
they do. But just to come back to Bondi, so one of those moments, besides the fruits and all that, walking on Bondi Beach would have been one of those moments of glory, in the world, and that's changed forever. Yeah.
Unbelievable. Have you ever been there this time of year?
No, I've never. I've only been.
Because it's funny, everyone's in shorts at the Chanukah celebration. I'm like, wow, this is so strange.
Right.
That they're lighting Chanukah.
But in Sydney, even in the winter, it could be 70, 80 degrees. Like that's what I tell the kids. We're in New Zealand. We're freezing. We're going to Melbourne. It's going to be fall. People ask me, how do I pack for camp? I say, well, here are good. New Zealand is winter, Melbourne is fall, Sydney is spring, and Hawaii is summer. So that's how you pack.
So if you see anybody in the airport with 4 different types of outerwear, they're probably on the Kanfei trip. Right. That's crazy. Anyway, Baruch Hashem. Those of you out there who, what is the website for Kanfei?
Kanfei.com.
Kanfei.com for information about the camp. And we appreciate you coming by, Rabbi Scheinfeld. Can only imagine what the Sydney community is going through. Yeah, you wanted to add?
Yeah, just sure. We also have a girls' camp, Benos Kanfei, that goes to Peru, Costa Rica, and
What's
Panama.
the weather there in July?
Peru is actually, it's sort of near the equator, but it's a little wintry. We got a Machu Picchu. And even there driving, you see on the walls of this town, 11 hours out of Lima, you see Palestinian graffiti and all that. So wherever you go in the world, you have to be, wherever you go.
They did, in fact, globalize the Intifada, didn't they?
They did. And yet there are still such special people there. And, the Chabads in Cusco and, Am Yisrael spreads light, but there is a lot of light that needs to be spread.
Oh, 100%. I'm glad we put this together at the last minute.
Yes, thank you, Nachum.
Rabbi Benzion Sheinfeld, everybody, the skiing rabbi. And in this context, somebody who's been to Australia many, many, many times and is very familiar with the community that's suffering right now. We have our brothers and sisters in Australia in mind, of course, during this very, very challenging week. More coming up. You're listening to a Chanukah edition Wednesday at JM in the AM.